I have some problems. Whenever I want to cook something, I have to dig out my memory to just figure out what to cook that day. And the second problem is that whenever I found a recipe online, I had to write them down on a piece of paper. This is also kind of troublesome when I'm outdoors and I need to keep track of the recipe that I saw on a book or something, and I have to keep track of it in the notes in the phone. It adds an extra step that I think that is not necessary for this whole process. So with those two problems, I decided to make an app out of it. A recipe app that helps to keep track of the recipes that are out there, or to share the recipes that I add myself, or to keep track of every recipes that I created, and then it makes it easier to choose on what recipe I want to cook that day, or what ingredients or what dishes to cook that day just by looking at the images or the recipes out there. So in this video, I'll be talking about the whole process of making the app. So let's go. The first thing that I did was to design the app, but at first I did not really know what design that I really want to do, or I do not really know how the app will look like. So I decided to join the dark side and then to use AI to help me come up with the design of the app. And I decided to use Stitch, Google Stitch, to help me with that. So the first thing that I did was to go to Google Stitch and then write out the prompt of what I want the app to do and what I would roughly want the design to have, or what the style of the app that I want. The design of the app that it gave is kind of, I feel that is too corporate and it doesn't feel homely that I want the app to look like. So I remembered that there is another design app out there which also uses AI, and that is the Base 44. I decided to move to Base 44 and give it a try. I gave a similar prompt to the AI and just let it do its thing. Then it came out with the design that, to be honest, I really liked. I decided to go with the design here. It fits the theme really well, as it felt homely. The color palettes just fits the theme. There are curves in it which also fits the theme, and the app overall is also quite simple to use. Since I really like the design really much, I just stole everything that it gave and pasted it in Canva. But I'm sure that this design will definitely change in the future as more and more features are included. So after designing the website, I decided to start coding it out. The framework that I decided to choose is React Native or Expo, and Supabase for the database. So to help start it off, I followed a tutorial by NetNinja on how to set up Expo, specifically because I wanted to use file routing so that it makes routing easier between the pages. Then for Supabase, since I have notes on how to set it up, I just followed my notes and then also followed the documents. After everything is set up, I started coding the website. I first prompt ChatGPT on the first page that I want to create, which is the home page. So I just screenshot the design from Canva and then pasted it into ChatGPT. I did the same for the add recipe pages, the details of the recipe pages, for the cooking pages where users will follow the recipe step by step, which also include a timer and some tips if they need some during the cooking process. The design that it gave out was not really the same as what the design that I pasted in the prompt. So I just edited a bit here and there, such as to add a labeling above the input, because before that was that the labeling was inside the input as a placeholder, which I did not really like. So I just added in the label above the input. And then some input was not actually included inside the code, so I just coded it up myself. Other than that, there are some alignment issues that I had to fix myself. Another challenge that I faced was uploading images into the Supabase bucket. The entire process of uploading data into Supabase was relatively easy, just that uploading the image into the Supabase bucket was the difficult part, as Supabase only allow array buffer to be uploaded into the bucket, and you have to convert a base64 file into the array buffer for it to work. So I asked like every AI on how to fix this problem, and all of them just told me that I have to use blob, which doesn't really work in this case, or use the read as string async function to help convert that data into an array buffer. But the problem is in Expo, this read as async function is deprecated, so it doesn't actually work. And blob obviously doesn't work as Supabase don't allow it. And I was frustrated that every AI just gave me the same thing over and over again, so I just hit to rest and just end that coding session that day. While I was resting, somehow I thought of another AI that I didn't use, which is DeepSeek. So I skipped resting and then just asked it on how to actually upload image into the Superbase bucket or storage. It gave me the same thing again, which is using the read as sync async function, but I just told it that in Expo, the read as sync async function is actually deprecated. It gave me two solutions, which both the first one still uses the read as sync async function. At this point, I just, wow, my expectation is too high for it. But it gave another alternative, which uses the built-in base64 inside the image picker dependency. It basically just converts the file type into base64 automatically for you. It's just like a bulb just light up in my head and a rush of dopamine just entered my brain. So I just opened up my laptop and started to implement this idea into the code. And it worked. I was actually quite relieved. And then after that, I tested the app. I realized that after finishing the first step of the app recipe page, the transitioning from the first page to the second page took a long time. Maybe because it has to put the entire base64 array into the params and then move that data from the first page to the second page so that the second page can take the base64 data from the params and then use it to pass it over to the third page where the data is saved. Since the base64 data was actually incredibly long, that's why maybe it took a long time. So instead of separating the add recipe page for one for each step, I put them all together to one page so that it minimizes the time spent. When the user finish adding the recipe into the app and then press the save recipe button, a loader will just appear to symbolize that it is uploading instead of just leaving the page blank. And then after submitting, the button will turn green and then the check will appear. This will improve the user experience, which is quite nice. And then the last challenge was actually not the coding process itself, but actually uploading the code into EAS to use the app without the reliance of the code. The obvious problem that hit me was every time I upload the EAS, an error appears in the logs that keeps saying that there's a permission issues for each file that is existing inside the app. I asked ChatGPT on how to fix it and none of the solution they gave kind of work. So subconsciously, for some reason, I thought of an idea to just look at my notes to see what are some ways that you're supposed to set up EAS. I tried many things in the notes, and one of them obviously worked, but I have no clue what. The main things I know that I did was that I tried to initialize the EAS and also added require commit equals to true in the EAS.json, which is why it works. I don't know, no clue. But now the app works in my phone without using the codes, which is quite nice. So this is basically what the app looks like. Quite okay, quite nice as a start, but as the days progress, I will improve the UI and the UX as well. So what the users can do is to add a new recipe, then they will add a photo, let's say this thing here, then they will crop whatever can crop, then enter the recipe name. Oh no, the placeholder image kinda ugly, but I will fix that later. So the recipe name, maybe I could put like chicken salad or something. Then the description can be, I don't know, chicken and veggie. Then the category can choose between breakfast, lunch and dinner. Maybe put breakfast, prep time maybe like 5 minutes, cooking time maybe 5 minutes, and then serving time maybe like servings maybe like 1 serving. Then for ingredients, maybe quantity 100 grams of chicken breasts, for example. Then another one, maybe like 1 cabbage. They can leave these units blank if they want to. Then for the steps, maybe the first step, maybe can cut the cabbage up. Then they can set a timer, maybe like 5 minutes or something, or maybe cutting doesn't need timer. Then tip, maybe be careful of the knife. Then maybe you can add step, cook the chicken for 7 minutes each side. Then they can add a timer. So 7 minutes as a timer. Maybe tip can be, I don't know how many degrees Celsius that you want to, but for now I will leave it blank. Then you can save a recipe, the loader will appear, and then the check mark will appear, and the recipe will be here. This is also under a filter of breakfast. Lunch will not appear here. Then if they want to search for this specific recipe, they can also search here, chicken, and it will appear. If other recipe, it will not appear. So when they click this recipe, the details will be here. Then they can start cooking. Maybe you can see the tip here. Then click next step. Then the timer will also appear. They can start the timer 7 minutes each side. They can pause, they can reset. Then they can finish, then it will be here. After that, you can edit and delete the recipe also. Quite cool. In the future, I might want to add like a ingredient sort of filter so that the users can choose on what recipe to make based on the ingredients that they have. Then I also want to include like the sharing of the recipe feature to other people so that they can share the recipe. So yeah, that's basically the app in detail. I might want to publish this app in the future to the App Store and then see whether other people will also like the app as well. So yeah, this is how I started creating another app. Anyway, it's just my opinion. Bye.